We're driving a 2024 Toyota Tacoma. It is a mid-size pickup truck, and it's all new, entering its 4th generation this year, 2024. Did I say 2024 enough? 2024. Coming up, if you have a family, is this thing big enough? Let's begin with interior.
I really feel like I'm in a truck. Everything's very square off and bulbous. Is
Sure.
that the right word?
Let's go
Intrude.
hulking. Hulking?
Hulking. That's a great word. But it's also super playful. I love how they bring the exterior color into the interior. I also really like the knobs and switch gear. They're grippy and it looks like there's little screws holding them in. I'm sure that's just molded plastic, but it looks great.
Textured and huge, like you could use it while wearing gloves. Up front here in the phone zone, you can put 2 phones side by side if you're so inclined, although in our particular trim, these are not wireless phone chargers, which I thought maybe they would be. And then there's a supplemental slot immediately adjacent to it. There's like a purse hook right here and a grab handle, which you'll probably need at some point.
The doors have a ton of storage. This shelf right here. There are several spots to hold a drink. I also really appreciate this nook here on the dash.
That is a decent sized center console.
One thing I am noticing as I look around is a lot of places where switches should be.
13 individual like blank panels. I wonder what other things the Tacoma can do. Smoke screen, oil slick, rockets. The stuff here on the door panels, this is pre-production. So if you see super scratched up shiny plastic, forgive the Tacoma. That's not what it's going to look like in the dealer. I have frequently applauded Toyota seats for their lack of pressure points. And I'm not feeling pressure points here either, but what I am feeling is firmness. Am I crazy or are these seats just really firm?
The backs are particularly firm.
Now, one massive improvement for the Tacoma is the seating position. Previous Tacomas, it was more of a legs forward kind of thing, and I find the seating position in this Tacoma much better, so it's more like sitting in a proper chair. Seated behind my ideal front seat position, there is a little bit of knee clearance, but not a lot. We have a very vertical seat back. Unsurprisingly, this is not roomy like a full-size pickup. I was impressed, though, that my head wasn't brushing up against the headliner. That middle position, that's workable, I think, for short stints, but that's really more of a kiddo space. Kiddo, did you have any issue sitting in that middle seat?
Not really.
And then seated in your position, kiddo, do you have enough space?
We got to get her own mic.
Yeah, definitely. Now I have a question that will get more than a monosyllabic response. Child, how did you find climbing in and out of the Toyota Tacoma?
I find it a little bit tricky because it's kind of a high step.
And there is a handle, but I don't know how easy it is for someone of your height to grab the handle.
You mentioned the handle. We have one in the back there, also one over on the sweetie side. Did that help?
It helped when I got in the passenger seat, but boy, getting in the driver's seat was tough for me.
Just gotta make a run at it and leap. If you flip those rear seats up, there is some underfloor area, which is nice, although those seats are not lockable. And one other thing I noticed is that they don't have a locking mechanism to hold them in the vertical spot. You have to use like a little snappity-doo to hold it in place.
That's a snappity don't.
Ooh,
Sorry.
sassy! You can also angle those rear seats forward, and there's just a little bit of extra storage space back there. Moving to the bed, ours is the 5-foot bed. There's also a 6-foot bed option. Bed functionality, they've covered the fundamentals. You've got some standard tie-down points. There's an optional track system where you can move those little anchor points. Some sort of easier way to climb into the bed would be nice. Wouldn't mind having one of those corner bed steps. On the other hand, you may not need to climb into the bed because the sides are fairly low, so you can just reach over and grab stuff. That is one advantage to having a low bedside. Then there's a deck rail system with tie-down cleats, and that's standard on the SR trim and above. Toyota does also offer a power down and up tailgate, and then there's also like a little knee function. You can kind of hit it with the knee and then it'll automatically come back up. Ours doesn't have it. That's why we're not demonstrating it. Ours also doesn't have the optional sliding rear window. Did you have any issues getting the booster seat installed?
No issues. The latch points are visible, easy to snap the booster in.
As for safety, neither the NHTSA nor IIHS have rated the Toyota Tacoma just yet, though I would be shocked if it did poorly. But what we do know is that there is a full suite of active driver assist technology standard in every Tacoma. Also standard, 8 airbags. Getting back to the item we teased, if you have a family, is the Toyota Tacoma big enough?
If you have a baby, it might be a little bit of trouble. A rear-facing car seat would probably be snug. There isn't a place to store your stroller and all the gear you typically haul around unless you're putting it in the bed. For our family of 3, I think that's a workable size family, especially because our kiddo is a bit older.
As we've said many times before, you can make any vehicle work for a family, but this wouldn't be the ideal solution. With all that in mind, what do we think? Is the Toyota Tacoma family friendly?
Small family friendly.
Rear window test. All the way down. Bam. Ding. Armrest test. Driving in a comfortable 8 and 4. I do have relatively easy access to the inboard and outboard armrest. Very firm though on the outside here. You can feel that plastic underneath, not much softness. And then outside softer, 55% inboard, 75% outboard. Hey, would you like to see more videos like this where we review cars as a family plus the occasional helicopter adventure? If so, you're welcome to subscribe. Style! The Toyota Tacoma is offered in 2 body styles. There's an extra cab, which only has 2 seats, and it comes with a 6-foot bed. Then there's the double cab, which we're driving, which comes with either a 5-foot or a 6-foot bed.
It's so brawny, but it still looks like a Tacoma. It's like they took the old Tacoma and sent it to the gym for 6 months.
I want to see the training montage of the old Tacoma while it's running on the beach and lifting logs and stuff. 3 interesting bits. 1, there's a hood scoop on this. I'm not sure how much air it's scooping. There are some cutouts on the bottom side of the hood, but I don't know. That's probably more style than function, but whatever.
There are also little vents near the front tires that bring air through.
You can stick a hand through there, but more importantly, it's there to improve aerodynamics, which brings us to the 3rd item, that massive front lip.
Woo!
My goodness.
I think it makes it look like an old wizard, and that's its beard hanging down.
When you look at that wizard's beard, it sure looks like it's waiting to be ripped off, whether intentionally or otherwise. Though awkward looking, this does greatly improve the aerodynamics of the vehicle. Now you can remove it with 9 bolts, but what's more realistic is that you'll just leave it in place and hope it's as durable and flexible as Toyota claims. And if you appreciate durable, flexible truck parts, you might appreciate Flying Eyes sunglasses. Thanks to their patented Resilimite construction, Flying Eyes are lightweight and comfortable, yet durable and flexible. If you're ready for aviation-grade eyewear, click the link in the description below to learn more about Flying Eyes. If you use the promo code Micah, you'll save 10%. I'm bending them again. Look, they're so flexible. By the way, the specific rendition of Tacoma we're driving is the TRD Sport, which is kind of like the on-road version of it. You can tell it's a TRD Sport because it has that hood scoop I mentioned earlier.
And the body-colored fenders, which I think really dress it up.
Also black 18-inch wheels and aluminum pedals. Nothing says sporty like aluminum pedals. Overall, we like the look of the Toyota Tacoma, but how do you feel? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Tell us in the comments. Moving onward to In Motion. The 4th generation of Toyota Tacoma has moved to the TNGA F platform. It's the same platform that underpins the Tundra and the Sequoia. So when I hopped in this thing, I was expecting like, oh man, this thing's gonna ride much, much better. And then I drove it on choppy pavement. I was like, my God, this thing feels firm. And then I thought, wait a second, is that firmness because I'm driving the TRD Sport rendition? And the answer is yes. I think if we drove any other trim, that opinion would shift. Especially with the limited trim, they offer it with adaptive suspension, which I bet would really smooth things out. One benefit of driving the version that has stiffer dampers is that I found this thing to be like weirdly competent when cornering. Not a lot of body movement. It felt very planted. Now the cornering limits are low. You're not gonna like set a new lap record like driving up your favorite winding mountain road. And the steering ratio is slow, but remember, it is a truck. I would happily give up some of that cornering competence for a little bit more ride compliance, and thankfully every other trim of Toyota Tacoma does that. One little suspension tidbit, this has coil spring rears, as do most trims, but if you go to the very lowest trims, it has rear leaf springs. Suspension nuances aside, the real story with this generation Toyota Tacoma is the powertrain. We've got a 2.4 liter turbocharged engine. Torque peak is under 2,000 RPM, so it's not struggling to make power low in the rev range. In fact, I'm cruising at 30 miles an hour right now, below the speed limit floored. Whee. Swift response, good pull. Plus you get cool little turbo noises as you press into the accelerator. I also found that the 8-speed automatic transmission does a really nice job being in the appropriate gear. Smooth shifts, works great. If I had a powertrain complaint, it would be that it sounds a little bit rough to me. It's not the best sounding engine that we've experienced. Then again, I don't know if we're the family that's going to complain about how things sound. Sweetie, give them a taste.
Aw.
Perfect.
Tell me how you feel about my voice.
Don't worry, they already do.
I know.
Everybody who's commented about her voice, this is not an act.
Who thinks I choose this?
As mentioned, the TRD Sport is not the off-roadiest of Tacomas. Nonetheless, we did take it off-road because that's where we live. I was very impressed with how the four-wheel drive system was able to propel this thing in very slippery conditions up snowy, muddy terrain. We've got about 10.7 inches of ground clearance to work with in this particular trim. My real concern was that front lip, and sure enough, it does bend. Another point I want to make is that Toyota has this thing on the Tacoma called the Auto LSD, and it sounds like limited slip differential. It is not. It's just using brake function to minimize spin for a slipping tire. That said, it did work pretty well getting us up some snowy hills. If you're more serious about your off-roading, you'll want to go with something like the TRD Pro or the TRD Off-Road or the TRD Pre-Runner, and all of those have an electronic locking rear differential. Based on how comfortable this thing felt driving off-road, I'm guessing you could have a very fine time driving off-road in an off-road oriented Tacoma. Okay, that's what I think, but what does Sweetie think? Evie's at the wheel and she's trying to turn us around here. The reason why I was curious about maneuvering in this environment is because we have a fairly large, like 44-ish foot turning circle.
That seemed maneuverable enough.
Now you got a big right turn here. Tell me, what are you experiencing?
I'm experiencing the Tacoma going where I want it to.
You're pretty arm over arm, which does speak to the fairly slow steering ratio, but you don't find it off-putting?
I don't.
If it's arm over arm but a lot of effort, then that can be annoying, but it's so light that it doesn't really matter.
Yes, I would be complaining if this was more effortful.
Floor it from a stop and see how it feels. Whee! How's that off-the-line power feel?
It feels powerful enough. It is very loud though.
Agree, not my favorite sounding engine, but that off-the-line power, if you're thinking a 2.4 liter turbocharged engine is going to feel sluggish off the line, that is not the case. Any visibility issues?
The pillars are rather thick, so I'm not really digging the visibility over my right or my left shoulder.
What about forward? Because it's a pretty tall hood.
That is also intruding into my vision.
Overall, if we were looking for a mid-size pickup truck, would you feel comfortable driving a Toyota Tacoma?
Absolutely.
I'm getting back in the driver's seat. In total, the Toyota Tacoma does all the trucky things a truck should do, but in more refined fashion than previous years. Onward to remarks.
There is so much screen here.
Big screen here. Basic screen is an 8-inch unit, comes with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto wireless, but we've got the optional screen.
I would probably just get the 8-inch screen. This is too much screen for me. If you can see what's on the screen now, that's pretty much the extent of what you can do with this without your phone. Or without subscribing to the navigation.
Every time you accidentally go to this nav screen, or oftentimes when you start up, it's like Experience Drive Connect. Stop selling to me when I get in the car. I do not want to subscribe for the latest route and location guidance.
Are you sure though?
Well, if I'm not, I'll have another opportunity to answer that question not too far from the future.
Using this system, very simple. There's a touch screen, a volume knob, very easy to find my way around.
It's so minimalist and functional. I really like how they've got the whole thing laid out. Let me mash this now playing button over here. All Tacomas include a digital gauge cluster, but from the pre-runner on up, you get this 12.3-inch unit. It's a little bit adjustable, so you can kind of dial in the exact information that you want to see. The Tacoma also features what I have dubbed the kindest feature in a car we've seen in a very, very long time. There is an in-the-cab adjustment to lighting angle. Load this thing up with 1,000 pounds of stuff, and it's sitting nose high. You can lower that down so you're not blinding oncoming traffic. Thank you, Toyota, for making it simple to be kind. And now it's our daughter's time to shine. Kiddo, can you tell us what is your favorite feature in the Toyota Tacoma?
My favorite feature is the little blue line on the door.
Now, it's not the exact same color as the exterior. The exterior is called Blue Crush Metallic, but that little spark of color inside really makes this feel like a special vehicle. Love it. And that was our daughter's favorite feature. All right, let's talk engine choices. There's a base 2.4 liter turbocharged engine that comes in the SR trim. Other trims also have that same engine, but it makes more power. An 8-speed automatic transmission comes standard, but with the more powerful turbocharged engine, you can also get a 6-speed manual. Then there's a 2.4 liter turbo hybrid called the iForce Max, coming to a TRD Pro and optionally in some other trims soon. As for fuel economy, it ranges from 23 combined for the 2-wheel drive SR trim to 20 mpg combined for the 4-wheel drive TRD Sport manual. If you want 4-wheel drive, that'll be an extra $3,200. For towing, it maxes out at 3,500 3,500 pounds for the SR trim, and all other trims, 6,500 pounds.
Sweetie, will you share our trim recommendation?
Yeah, darn right I will. Our trim recommendation is which trim will give you the essential features you would regret not getting, but at the lowest possible price. The basic Tacoma SR trim includes the essentials, but for $3,500 extra, that SR5 trim adds the deck rail system, smart key access on the passenger side front door, blind spot warning, plus a big bump in power. For doing truck stuff, the SR5 is a good investment. Also, a truck with 5 seats is far more useful than a truck with 2 seats, so we'd suggest moving up from that extra cab to the double cab for $1,070. And if you're ready to buy a Toyota Tacoma of your very own, check the Kelley Blue Book pricing link in the description below to see what your current car is worth or what you should spend on a Toyota Tacoma. As for competitors, big names include the Ford Ranger, Nissan Frontier, maybe the Hyundai Santa Cruz if you're looking for a more of an SUV-like truck experience, and then the Chevrolet Colorado. Did we miss any remarks? If so, tell us in the comment section. Synopsis! Thinking about the essence of the Toyota Tacoma, it is a huge improvement over the previous model, but because it took so long to come and there's all this pent-up demand, it may be hard to get your hands on one. To us, the Toyota Tacoma is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 of midsize pickup trucks, which we're shooting on right now.
Here.
We're doing it's right there. Family, I think we've done a good job reviewing the Toyota Tacoma. May I have a 5 and a 5?
Pew.
You can get your high five. Bam!